out there who's never heard of God? No. Everybody knows there's a creator God. Paul says his invisible qualities are clearly seen. Now, there's many people who haven't heard about Christ, but there's nobody out there who's never heard about God. Oh, they know there's a God, but what do they tend to do sometimes? And we tend to do this sometimes too. We suppress the truth because we don't want to know about God. We want to go our own way. Men love darkness rather than light. Then he talks about futile thinking in verses 21 and 23. He says, for although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him, but their thinking became futile and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal man and birds and animals and reptiles. Futile thinking. They thought they were wise, but they really weren't. Let me give you a contemporary example of this. I've talked about him before. This man is Richard Dawkins, author of The God Delusion. He claims to be a bright. What is a bright? It's Dawkins' new term for atheists. He said, we need to come up with a new nickname for ourselves because atheist doesn't sound good. So what we're going to do is we're now going to call ourselves brights because we're smart. We're wise. Unlike you crazy religious people, we're bright. You're not. Now, as you know, I read his book, The God Delusion. And as you know, in previous sessions here, we've gone through the evidence for the beginning of the universe and the evidence that points directly back to a creator. An immaterial, eternal, powerful, personal, moral, timeless creator. Intelligent creator. What does Dawkins say about all this? And by the way, we also pointed out how incredibly designed the universe is and how incredibly designed life is. What does Dawkins say about all this in his book? Here's what he admits. And this is in the center of his book, around page 157 or so. He actually calls this the central argument of his book. Here's what he admits. He says, the appearance of design in the universe is overwhelming. Those are his words. He then goes on to say that there's no explanation for this design in physics. We have no idea how this could be so designed or where the universe came from. Remember, the universe exploded into being out of nothing. Nothing. As Aristotle said, nothing is what rocks dream about. The universe exploded into being out of what rocks dream about. And there's no explanation for it in physics. Why? Because there was no physical world. So physics can't be responsible for it. Physics itself, or the natural world, was created at the Big Bang. So what does Dawkins say? He says there's no explanation how all this could be designed. He knows that natural forces don't create designed things. There's only 4 natural forces, and they don't create designed things. They do the same thing over and over again. Yet all this information, there's all this information in life, and he has no idea where it comes from. So he says this, maybe the multi-universe theory, which relies on luck. Those are his words, luck. Now what's the multi-universe theory? Well, we just happen to be in one of the universes out of many that are out there. And this one just happens by chance to be designed. How? We don't know, but we just happen to be. See, if there was a virtual infinite number of universes out there, maybe we're in the one that's designed just by chance. That's the multi-universe theory. Now, there's a number of problems with that. Number one, there's no evidence for it. This is the only universe we know about. Secondly, if there are other universes out there, they would need a creator to get started and designed as well. So it doesn't negate the need for a creator. It multiplies the need for a creator. And thirdly, who's keeping all these universes from colliding into one another if there really are other ones out there? So this is pure speculation. And as you can see, Dawkins says luck. Now, what would Dawkins do if he asked me, how do you think Jesus rose from the dead? And I said, well, I don't have any evidence for it, but I think the answer is luck. What would he do? He would laugh me off the stage if I was debating him, wouldn't he? Yet here's his explanation. Now, he claims to be bright. He claims to be wise. Is this wise or is this futile thinking? This is futile thinking, isn't it? Now, he will come back at us and say, well, yeah, you're saying God created it, but who made God? Who made God? That's their comeback. Who made God? What's the answer to that? Well, first of all, God is not made. That's the whole point. Look, since something exists, you and I exist, right? We're here. Something must have always existed. Because you can't create yourself, can you? There's got to be an uncaused first cause. Now, we have only two possibilities as far as we know. Either the universe is the uncaused first cause, or something outside the universe is the uncaused first cause. Now, as you know, in previous nights here, we've given evidence that the universe is not the uncaused first cause. It had a beginning. 5 lines of scientific evidence we've already talked about by the acronym SURGE. We know the universe had a beginning. So if it's not the universe that's the uncaused first cause, what must be the uncaused first cause? If it's not a natural cause, it must be a supernatural cause. It must be something outside the universe. So Dawkins' question backfires on him because the evidence points to something outside the universe that's immaterial, eternal, timeless, spaceless, powerful, intelligent, moral, all the attributes that we apply and the Bible applies to God. This is futile thinking. He knows there's a God, but he's suppressing the truth. Why? I don't know why. I don't know if he has a moral problem with God. He wants to go his own way. I can't judge his heart. It just seems to me like he's suppressing the obvious. There has to be an uncaused first cause outside the universe.